Greetings, I'm Christopher Logan Hill, and today on Joe Takes, we're going to be taking a look at a Croc Master. But before I mention any of that today, this is going to be the second installment for Cobra Convergence 7. If you guys don't know what that is, then you need to check the link below to the Hooded Cobra Commander website, the Hooded Commander 788 website, for the schedule. They're doing all sorts of G.I. Joe stuff all month long. All sorts of G.I. Joe content creators are jumping into this, and everybody's throwing their hat into the ring and making a video about Cobra. And today, my video is about Croc Master. Now, at the end, the On Joe Takes 11 video, if you saw that, and you saw my entry into Operation Dungeon Siege, which this is part 1. Last week I did my Beachhead video, had an intro into that, so you might want to check that out. I'm sure when I'm done with all of this that I'm probably going to consolidate those parts into one big video, but for now, we're looking at Croc Master. Now, I had all his original accessories. The only thing that is an issue with this character, this figure, is that piece of his crotch piece broke off just a little bit, and there's a crack in his chest. I don't know if you can see that, but I like this figure from the get-go. A lot of people didn't, and when he first came out, now he's like, kind of a fan favorite to a lot of people. But this whip originally had a little longer end on it, and it had a little forked tongue, and it was kind of cool. But I played with it so much that at some point it got caught on something and broke. And the handle, the little connector piece, that broke. But that just shows that I put a lot of play and a lot of love into this figure. He also came with a crocodile, which actually looks more like an alligator, but I'm not really sure on how that works. But it was supposed to be a crocodile, but a lot of people said alligator. I like the little chain it came with. That was pretty cool. And I'm going to compare that to the classified one here in a minute. I do have a bunch of modern Croc Masters from the 25th anniversary style line of figures, but I decided not to look at those today and stick with the vintage and do some comparisons with the classified version. Now, the classified version is number 38 in the series and is a deluxe figure. It had one of the newer back posters, and of course it had all that stuff on the side that we still haven't figured out. But the side art is pretty good, and that was this right here is in the thumbnail a little bit, but it's also on in this part here too. On Joe Takes 11, the little promo for this video that I made, technically my first Cobra Convergence video, but the card art's pretty good, so I give a closer look at that. But this box was really big, and there's a reason for that. It came, or should I say, he came with Fiona. Now, Fiona, this was worth the price I paid for it. I mean, this crocodile is completely posable. It's got a bendable tail. The paws, the claws move, and the legs, both front and back. The mouth opens up, and it came with, I'm going to set her down for a second so I can show you this, but it came with 2 little baby crocodiles. Maybe if I can get them in, there we go. One albino. I thought that was neat. They didn't name these ones, and for the first time ever, like on the box art, they gave the crocodile a name, Fiona, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, he may have named his crocodile in the comics. I don't really remember for sure, but we'll talk about that in a bit. I still want to look at this crocodile. I mean, they went out of their way to make a good product. I mean, the mouth opens and closes, the head moves up and down. It's on a ball joint, so it moves pretty good. Tail has really good movement, and then there's a joint here, so the crocodile can really pose. And so when you compare it to this, they did do some modern Croc Masters with the crocodile, and that one was pretty good in the mouth open. But I just have fond memories of this one, it being the first one. And how can you deny that crocodile grin there? That was pretty good. And so they did update the chain, like for the vintage figure. They had the little chain where, you know, he had the grip on the top. Now, like I said, they updated that, and this slides right over the crocodile's neck, but just not as well as the original, but it still goes on there pretty good. And then the figure can hold the handle really good. Although I really don't see him using that on Fiona. She's supposed to be his best trained crocodile, right? And if he is a reptile trainer, should he not need a chain? But then again, we're talking about a wild animal, a crocodile especially. Now, before I jump in, I'd almost forgot something, and from last week. I did find, well, it's actually from week before last, when I couldn't find my Storm Shadow accessories. I did find some of them. I did get one complete for my original vintage, and then I'm missing the nunchuck on this one, but I found the bow and one of the katana, or the larger sword, the wakizashi, whatever you want to call it. But I just, like I said, with me and my OCD, I had to find it, and it as it turned out, looking for this whip, I found it in the same bag. Go figure. Now, that takes us to this awesome classified figure. Now, as far as updates go, this is really one of the better ones. I mean, the eyeball on the belt, they carried that over really well. The whip, I think I like the original whip better, to be honest. This one, I wish they'd have done something with it, that it wasn't in this shape. I mean, you can pull it out and use it, as you'll see at the end of the video. I'm actually going to add to it on Joe Takes 11. But, yeah, I don't know what they were doing with that. And the rebreather, I mean, this, I'm surprised I still had my hose on him. But, yeah, like I said, I keep them in little baggies, so it was in there. But the whip wasn't. I had to go look for it. But it's going to be in there now. And he came with this really nasty meat hook. And then he had a pistol on the left side, which is the same as the vintage. Let me get that out of the way so you can... Oh, vintage figures, man. There we go. There's the pistol and the pistol. Now, he also had a knife in the right boot. If I can get my big old fingers out of the way. And he's got a knife on the right boot. So they did a pretty good rendition of it across from vintage to classified. Now there are certain things that are different. I mean, the boots are just really kind of green and not really don't really have that crocodile or alligator pattern, but they did that on the tank top that he's wearing, and the Cobra symbol they did really well. Also his rebreather, and I don't know if that is picking it up very well, but his eyes, they painted red really well. I thought that was really cool. They've got some kind of, they got, like I said, a rebreather on the back. I thought that was a nice touch for the classified. And they carried over his gauntlet on the right and his reptile skin on the left. I just thought they did an outstanding job putting this classified figure together. It is one of my favorite classified figures, even though Croc Master isn't in my Cobra top 10. He's still a really cool character. So that takes us to the comic book, and the only comic he was ever on the cover of is this yearbook. As it turns out, I used to have all of them, but that's the only one I have left. Like I said, I had a comic book store, and for a while there, I was selling everything I had. So those first three yearbooks went pretty quick, but I managed to get them all in this collected edition, which is super nice. The G.I. Joe yearbook, all in one trade paperback, and like it's so big it really doesn't fit in the comic bag, but I managed to get it in there and tape it up. I generally don't like to tape them. It can damage the book, so I generally fold them in like that. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of collectors do that. But it turned out that was the only yearbook I ended up still having. Is number 4. That was the last one they made, and it happens to be the only cover with Croc Master on it. And this storyline with Croc Master was pretty good. This might be the one where he names Fiona in it. I should have taken a look before I started this video, but I actually had to find that because I had it mixed in right before the Cobra Civil War in here, because that's in chronological order. That's where it is. I will probably keep it with my trade paperback at this point now. But apparently in Cobra, excuse me for a sec. Apparently in Cobra, Croc Master is like their security of Cobra Island. He takes care of the swamps. I don't really think I ever saw him anywhere else. He wasn't in many of the comic books, but the ones that he was in are pretty memorable. He gave the October Guard a pretty good run for their money in this. And Wetsuit and Torpedo were in that. Both of them, it was kind of cool because they weren't in their wetsuits. For a change, they were actually decked out in Navy SEAL camo instead of their wetsuits, which was kind of cool. Because normally they would even on land they would wear their wetsuits, their diving suits, and that was nice to see them. Those two Navy SEALs decked out in camo and in really cool gear, but Croc Master was dealing with the October Guard, and they just kind of went around him. You'll have to read it. It was pretty cool. It was an interesting storyline that it kind of led into Cobra Civil War, but not exactly. This is when the imposter Cobra Commander, that was actually Fred the Seventh, the Crimson Guardsman, was in the Cobra Commander armor, and the October Guard went in and thought they had kidnapped Cobra Commander, but they actually took it just the battle armor. So that was an interesting fight there in the swamps that they did in this yearbook. Interesting way to do that. Normally the yearbook storylines didn't actually continue into the regular series. I mean, they happened in the continuity, but they were generally standalone storylines in the yearbooks, but not this time. This actually went from one issue into the yearbook and then into another. So it was neat, and that's probably why I hung on to it, because I wanted to keep my storyline continuous. And for sure, that was the only Croc Master cover, and it's really decent. I like that one a lot. Now, like I said, as far as his position in Cobra, that's it. He was just island security. And during the Civil War, he sided with Serpentor. So when the Joe showed up, he was like, "Go give him one for me," kind of on the Joe side in that moment, but not really. Croc Master's motives were never really revealed in the comic book, and he was never in any of the cartoons, as far as I know. He hit that spot where he probably should have been in the movie. They had a big swamp scene in the movie. Croc Master should have been in that, and Pythona should have gotten past him at the beginning of that movie. I don't know why they didn't take that opportunity to have him. I've always wanted to go back and do like little clips and see if I can get somebody to animate them for me of little add-ons of this should have been in G.I. Joe the movie type thing. All these different characters like Sneak Peek and Tunnel Rat. Well, Tunnel Rat was in there, but Outback. There were so many opportunities to just have little clips with all the new figures in it. And for some reason, they just focused on the Renegades, the Cobra Law, and then those four that they picked out, and then they added Big Lob. What was it for? It was Chuckles, Jinx, Tunnel Rat, Falcon, and then Big Lob. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 5. I don't know why they added Big Lob. They had the fridge that year that they could have used. He was a sports figure too, but maybe they couldn't get the rights. Who knows? Either way, I think they missed a lot. They had all this money in this budget to make this movie, and most of it probably went to paying Don Johnson to be Lieutenant Falcon and Burgess Meredith to be Globulus. Sir Sergeant Slaughter, got his, what he normally got, probably. Maybe a bit more, who knows. But that's probably where their budget went for that, because they supposedly spent like $5 million on it. And for an animated movie in 1986-87, that was a big deal. I think it was the first time they'd ever spent more than $1 million on an animated movie like that. I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I remember it. They kind of made a big deal out of that. I lost my train of thought, but Croc Master just did not hit it. He didn't hit in the movie, and then the next year they didn't have an animated series, and then they didn't put a new Croc Master out in the vintage line at all. Now they had some. I think they had Croc Master was one of the ones that Cobra Commander, I think, killed in the bunker. So in the early 2000s with the Spy Troops and the Valor versus Venom and the G.I. Joe versus Cobra, right there in the 2000 to 2006, that little era of figures, they had some new ones, but they called him Croc Master 2. But when they brought him back in the modern line, it was the original Croc Master again. So I don't know how the storyline would work with that with Larry Hama. I've read a lot of the IDW line, but not all of it. I actually had a lot more than I thought. I was looking for my yearbook this morning, and I found a ton of them, more so than I thought I had. But I did have a subscription there for a while. That book was, without a subscription, is kind of hard to find sometimes, especially depending on the area you're in, I'm sure. But where I'm at, they don't have G.I. Joe on the shelves much. So as far as comic book, that's his big appearance. Cartoon didn't exist. I think they may have animated him for a commercial, possibly, but so I don't think so. Where I place him in my storyline is he's like my Night Adder, which is my Cobra officer, chief of security. He's like right under him on Cobra Island. In fact, he runs things on Cobra Island while Cobra officer runs things as Night Adder everywhere. Now, Night Adder came with that big old Rottweiler. Yeah, my kid is studying to be a groomer, and she made sure that I knew that was a Rottweiler. I had remembered that it was a Rottweiler, but couldn't think of it during that video where I was doing the top 10 Cobras. So that takes us to where we're at with Croc Master and Cobra Convergence 7. We start off the Operation Dungeon Siege Part 1, and that's what we got here for you at the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video. Logan out.